Is 30 FPS unacceptable? Are we to put our nose in the air to any video game that does not run at 60 FPS? That is seriously the discussion that's being had online right now. And wow, I mean, it's all opinion based. So we're going to try to look at this with respect to this person's opinion and like apparently some other people's opinion as well. I've seen this topic pop up from time to time, but this particular tweet was, oh boy, this one was a very strong opinion. This person says 30 FPS isn't playable. It isn't acceptable. It isn't something that should ever be considered as an option. What it absolutely is, however, is an insult to all gamers. Optimize your games. 60 FPS is a minimum expectation. The bare minimum expectation. Holy crap. That is so strong that it would crush me in the bicep of how strong that opinion is. That was wild stuff. Dude, I've been playing games forever. I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this video probably have too, at least to your approximation of your lifespan or whatever. And I think most of us can agree 30 FPS is not like a deal breaker like it is for this guy. There would be so many amazing games that I would miss out on if I really turned my nose up to 30 FPS. That's just ridiculous, man. Is 60 FPS preferred? Yes. Do I always wish there's like an option where like you can scale down some effects of games so that you can push the frame rate to 60 FPS instead of having it like glamorized with a whole bunch of needless effects and stuff? Yes, I would like that. Not every game's going to have that, though. I will just take the time to say I wish that was a feature if it's not included. And I will also make the point to complain if a game was originally 60 FPS and then there's like a remake that lowers it to 30 FPS or a port that lowers it to 30 FPS. That, to me, is unacceptable. You've basically taken a game that has worked on lesser hardware and managed to run at a higher frame rate, and then you re-release it possibly at a higher price tag than the original release, and then it's at 30 FPS. Yes, I'm looking at you, the 1,000-year door. For as amazing as that game was, that game should have been 60 FPS, and I don't think that the amount of visual effects that they put into the game should have come at the cost of the frame rate. I think that they should have stayed at 60 FPS. That would have been very nice. Because the original game looked gorgeous anyway. It didn't even need all the glitz and glamour, but whatever. That's just my opinion. Totally my opinion. But like, yeah, we're on this topic though of the idea that like no game can be 30 FPS. You know, it literally, there's going to be some games that go for prettiness over efficiency, and sometimes games will have a smaller scale scope when it comes to graphics and stuff, and so that they can just punch that FPS to 60 FPS with some good optimization. But I never sit there and I go like, it needs to be 60 FPS, otherwise this looks like garbage to my eyeballs. That's insane. Maybe it's because I'm an older gamer and I played through games that were like running at 20 FPS, like Ocarina of Time, for example. But I don't know. I think that 30 FPS looks fine. I've watched enough movies in my lifetime, and I believe that those still run at 24 frames per second. So it has that cinematic sort of feel to the frame rate. When you consider the fact that most video games run 6 frames faster than a movie, I don't know. I feel like that's the standard. And then 60 FPS is like deluxe, you know, it's a luxury feature to video games and stuff. There are some games that really benefit from 60 FPS. And there might be some where they don't have 60 FPS, and you kind of go like, that game in particular really should have had 60 FPS. I think one of the best examples of 60 FPS in a video game, and it would definitely suffer as a result if it didn't have it, was F-Zero GX, because the game is moving so incredibly fast all the time that it's utilizing every single frame to the benefit of the gameplay, right? So when you drop it down to 30 FPS, it kind of, you know, it's just not the same. This might be sacrilege for the people that are invested in this video topic, but like, I can actually deal with some frame rate dips from 60 to like 40. 40 to 60 is not like the worst thing I've ever seen, as long as it doesn't have like a lagging effect. Like if there's some frame skips, you know, to make it 40 FPS, I think that's still cool. I think it's better than just like locking it completely to 30. I'm very curious to see what you guys think of that. But obviously you want a stable 60, you want a stable 30. That's really what's most important, and that's how we end up with the 30 FPS, because some game developers don't want their games to either lag or do frame rate drops from that 60, from that sweet number 60. So yeah, I mean, like, for me, I think this is like a no-brainer. I think that you kind of have to accept the fact that some games are going to be 30 FPS. It comes with the hobby. Like, there's way too many amazing games that just don't run at 60 FPS. So what are you going to do? You're just not going to play any of those games? Like, pretty much all the Zelda games, you're not going to play, like, any of the Zelda games because they're all 30 FPS? Is that what you're saying here? Because that's insane. Like, those are amazing games. And you're missing out on some amazing titles by having this incredibly high expectation that all games you play have to be 60 frames per second. Yikes, brother. Trust me, you will have a much better time when you learn to let that go. I don't know. Like, again, I get it. Like, it's fun to play games at 60 FPS. It looks really nice. But again, to me, it's just a luxury feature. It's like having the power windows in a vehicle, or the onboard touchscreen navigation for your new car or whatever. It's not necessary. Is it nice? Oh, heck yeah, it is. But does it need to be there? No. You know, it's just really nice. So when you kind of sit there in your car and you go, I'm not buying this car unless it has onboard navigation. Okay. Well, sorry that you feel that way, I guess. I'll take the car without that onboard navigation. There's other ways. All right, let me move on from that analogy. But yeah, I think you get what I'm trying to say here. This debate is wild. And I am not kidding, by the way, when I say that this discussion has become very large over on Twitter right now. Like moving on from that one, someone clearly did like a vague tweet about that guy's original tweet, because he's the one that really started this whole discussion. This person over here says, 60 FPS should be the standard in 2024. Yes. But to be so hyperbolic as to say that 30 FPS is quote-unquote unplayable is frankly laughable. I played Starfield and Final Fantasy 16, both phenomenal games at 30 FPS, and they were totally fine. Stable frame rate is the key factor. Yeah, I mean, again, it is laughable, in my opinion. Like, if someone told me, like, hey, she says, you shouldn't play this game because it's not 60 FPS, I may laugh. I may genuinely laugh at the notion that, like, dude, what? Like, I'm not going to play this because it's not 60 FPS. I mean, even with Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, with that being a valid complaint that it should have the same frame rate as the original version that came out on the GameCube, I still bought it and I still played it because I know that, like, it's still going to be good. And I think it's kind of silly to think that, like, well, because it's not 60 FPS, it's not playable anymore. You know, it's like, dude, of course it's still playable. It definitely should be a criticism that's levied against the people that made the game, you know, in that particular case. But to say that it's unplayable is just kind of taking it too far, in my opinion. But yeah, it's so wild to me that we're having this conversation, that it's real, that there are people that took the time to type out, this is my opinion on 30 FPS versus 60 FPS. What a time we live in. Thank you, Twitter, for giving everybody a platform so that I can see these very, very interesting thoughts and opinions from people all over the world. Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry, I had to share this one because I'm just like, whoa, this is so wild that we're having this discussion. Like, this is where we're at as gamers now in 2024. It's so funny to me. All right, well, anyways, thank you so much for watching and take care.